Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jillian Hama. I am the Group Chief Marketing Officer for Databank, and it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to the first installment of the Databank Retirement Tour for 2021. I hope everyone can hear me clearly, and I'll just ask someone on my team to send me a message and confirm that they can hear me. All right, perfect. So Databank, some of you may know, some of you may not know, but retirement is something that we have been talking about. Thanks, Emmanuel. Good to see you too. The retirement is something that we've been talking about for many, many years now, and it's because of how important it is. As we go through today's session, I want you to think about your family, think about your friends, think about people whom you know who are age 60 right now, and think about how comfortably they are living or whether they're struggling for retirement. Think about all of those things, because the way they are living today is based on the choices that they made many, many years ago. And our goal today is to help equip you with the information that you need to make the right choices today, so that in the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years for some of you, when you get to retirement, it will be comfortable and it will be stress-free. So it is my pleasure to welcome you once again, just to give you an idea of what we have in store for you. Right after the opening prayer, we'll actually hear from Kojo Addae-Mensah. He is the CEO of Databank. Some of you know him for what he speaks about when it comes to sports. For those of you who are football fans, then Liverpool is his team, and so you can celebrate with him on the side with that. But today is for retirement. So he will come up, he'll carry you through the topic that we have let all of you know about, which is the 10 mistakes that could cost you your retirement. And then after that, we will have a bit of a giveaway. We'll give away a few prizes. Then we'll have a Q&A where you can either raise your hand at that time, or you can put your message in the chat and we'll read it out on your behalf. So, and then we'll give away a few more prizes, and then that's it. So one more time, welcome all of you. I am so glad that you've taken this decision to learn something more about retirement. We will host these sessions every other month. So the next one will be in March. And at that point, we will have another guest speaker on, someone from SNIT at that time. So really take advantage of these sessions and do let your friends and family know, because everybody will have to retire someday. So with that, I would like to ask Emma to please come on and give us the opening prayer. Thank you.
All right. Shall we pray? Our Lord and our Master Jesus, we are grateful unto you for yet another day. We thank you for everything you've given us, especially for life. We thank you for this afternoon's gathering. We pray that be our chairperson, be our host, and at the end of the day, whatever we learn will be of a success. And may we also be able to plan well for our retirement. This and many we've asked through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen and amen, Emma. Thank you so much. So again, it is my pleasure actually to welcome Kojo Addae-Mensah, who leads the Databank team, to talk to you about retirement today. So Kojo, I'll turn it over to you. But before he starts talking, I'll give you just a very brief summary of what he does. So Kojo has been in banking, both commercial banking and investment banking, but the overall financial services sector for more than 20 years. And he actually started his career at Databank in 1998. stayed there for a couple of years, and then moved into mainstream commercial banking. Then he returned to Databank in 2014, and he's been there ever since, and he will likely retire at Databank. That's my belief. That's my prophecy. Anyway, he loves all things investment, is extremely passionate about retirement, and perhaps almost as passionate as his other love, which is football, and then his other love, which is his son. But Kojo, I'm turning it over to you so that you can take over, and we will hear from you. We'll do the Q&A with you in about 30 minutes or so. But thank you once again for giving us your time.
Thank you very much, Gillian. And for those of you who don't know, Gillian is Databank's Chief Marketing Officer as well. And behind all this, there's a whole production team there. Gillian will be helping me out. She'll be actually rolling the slides while I speak. I think in the intro, she said a lot that I may have said. Those of you who know me well and haven't seen me in a long while may be surprised to see me wearing a beard. But that's what COVID has done to me. I haven't mastered the courage to visit any barber yet. I do this one, God does it for me, so it's in order. What I'd just like to add before I kick off is that I realized that there are some people too who have actually logged on or registered to participate in this seminar outside Ghana. And even though maybe most of the examples or most of what I'll talk about will be related to Ghana, I believe that the principles are the same. And irrespective of where you live or work, I think if you follow the same principles that I'll share, it will be the same and it will be good for you. So it doesn't really matter where you live or work. I strongly believe that you will benefit from this. And yes, my fellow Copites, Michael, I've been seeing your messages, and thank you very much for that. And yes, once I'm ready to hit the slides, I'm going to go off video, and Gillian is going to take over the screen. So thank you very much, and you're welcome again to the Databank Retirement Series.
Thank you very much, Kojo. I will share the slides now. So let me know whether you can see the screen.
Yes, I can.
All right, fantastic. So I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to say, maybe I've always been passionate about retirement, but I think it was during my time at GCB Bank that it really hit me that this retirement thing was a serious matter and we needed to take it seriously, because GCB Bank is maybe one of the most branches across the country. So a lot of the time, even if you were in a certain bank during your active life, you are likely to request that your pension be put to GCB Bank, especially if you go and live somewhere other than where you were originally working. So I started seeing pensioners coming in, especially those who come in after the first year or two, and the shock that was on their face when they see the amount of money they would have to be going away with. And a lot of them were even in the old PNDC law and not even the new act that we currently are operating, which has brought in some changes. But I then began to engage some of them and realized that a lot of the time it was mistakes or decisions that they had made in their active service that caused them the shock that they were having. So based on that, I'm going to share some of what my experience is and some of the mistakes that we can't afford to be making while we are in active service, so that we can enjoy our golden years. And I may mention it again, but if you think about it, if you got a job at age 30 and you are going to retire at 60 and you are going to live till 90 or more, then you should know that life during retirement could be as long as life during active service. So you really need to take this very, very seriously. Before I go on, I would like to share a statistic with you. It's an actuary review that was done quite a while back, but still very relevant, that in Ghana, out of every 100 Ghanaians who reach the age of 60, only 2 are going to retire comfortably. This is a very serious statistic. 23 will still continue working. And I am sure some of you see elderly people doing one manner of job or the other. And while you are young and strong, you tell yourself, but this old man, why is he still working? He won't allow some of the young people and us to come through. It's because they just can't afford to stop working. And even worse, 75% will not be comfortable relying on their SNET, charity, relatives, patching, friends. You know, it's not dignifying at all, the statistic. And we have actually come across some more data that is suggesting that the 1% is trending towards, the 2% is actually trending towards 1%, which is a very, very, very serious matter. I mean, let's all try to work towards moving this 2% up towards 5 or 10%. And if we all come together and take the decisions that we need to take, we believe that the situation will not be as dire. So what's the first? No, before that, to another quote. This is instructive, and this is from George Foreman. And we all know, I'm sure most of us know George Foreman, and in his heyday, the bouts with Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, these guys earned a lot of money at the time. But if George Foreman comes out to tell you the question is not at what age you want to retire, but it's at what income you want to retire, then you know that it's a serious issue. Because if we all recall, Foreman still came out of retirement, I think more than twice, to fight. Some of us at the time thought it was just for the fun of it, you know, and just to, you know, create fun among the boxing community or the sports world. But that was not the case. The issue was money. And I don't think he had prepared well for his retirement. And he needed to come out once in a while to box to earn a few more bucks to live. So what are the mistakes? We go on to mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 is failing to set a retirement goal. Now, a lot of the time, we will say, oh yeah, I'm saving towards retirement. You meet friends, family, you ask, are you saving towards your retirement? Are you prepared to, oh yeah, I'm preparing towards my retirement. But most of the time, they don't even have a target. They don't have the goal. It's easy just to say, I'm saving towards retirement or I'm preparing towards retirement. It's very easy, but you need to set a goal. You see, when you set a goal, then you know that I want to hit 1 million. I want to hit 2 million, 3 million. Then you start asking yourself, how do you get to it? But if you just leave it without having a specific goal, then, you know, it's much, much more difficult to even achieve what it is that is in your mind. So please, once you decide that, yes, you are going to start preparing for retirement, please set a goal for yourself. Don't just leave it open-ended without any planning, without knowing even how to get there. And I hope that by the time we finish today, you have set your goal and would have taught you how to get there. Mistake number 2, which is the very, very common one, procrastination. Saying that, oh, it's too early. This is not the time to start thinking about retirement. Oh, life begins at 40, so let me wait. When I'm even 40 years, I'll start thinking about it. My brother, my sister, that is a grave error. I've already said, the day you get your first paycheck, that is when you start preparing for retirement. That's when you start putting something aside. Never wait till later. Never. Later should not be in your vocabulary. It is now, 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 now. I tell my friends, and a lot of my friends now are hovering around the 50-year bracket. And they will call you and say, Kojo, Charlie, now we are 50, but how? The retirement, can you help me with something? I just laugh and tell them, my brother, you know, you are 30 years late, or even you are 20 years late. But anyway, it's never too late to start. It's just that depending on how you want to retire and what you want to hit, is now going to be more challenging. It's going to be more difficult. Your retirement number is going to be bigger. And I'll show you what the retirement number is. But please, this issue is not about waiting till your 40s or your 50s before you start thinking about it. It is about now. Do not procrastinate about preparing for your retirement, because whether you like it or not, it will happen. Then we move on to another interesting one. You know, when you are in your active service, when you're in active service and you're in your working life, you are working, going, coming, most of the time we are giving a medical allowance, or we are giving medical insurance, we are giving transport allowance, we are giving fuel allowance. When we are traveling, we are being given per diem. You know, sometimes we get rent allowance. All these allowances are there when you are in active service. But the day you retire, everything goes off. There's only one firm I know, one or two that I know that still pay for healthcare post-retirement. Only one or two. Otherwise, the moment you retire, it's off. That allowance is gone. And guess what? It is post-60 that your medical bills even start coming, going high. My pharmacy friends tell me that the moment you cross 45 or 50, you start swallowing one tablet or the other. And you swallow that tablet or the other for the rest of your life. So when you are in active service, you are going to the hospital, they'll give you a prescription, you go, you buy the medicine, you come back, it's reimbursed, or they send a bill for you and you pay it. So it's easy. I mean, you want to go somewhere, fuel allowance, you just move the car, go and come. Even though it's meant maybe for you to go to work and come, some people from their home to work is short, so the fuel allowance becomes extra income. Then if you are unlucky, or if you are lucky or unlucky, I don't know how to put it, but you could still retire and you still be looking after your own parents. I know people who are 60 whose parents are still alive and they are having to look after them. It's very, very crucial. So all these expenses still happen. And when you are planning for your retirement, you need to think about these things. You need to think about the fact that your pension is calculated only on your basic salary, and all these allowances will vanish, but they are not going to, there are still expenses that you need to meet. You will still transport yourself, you will still travel, you will still maintain a house, whether you've been able to buy a house or not, you'll be renting, you'll be maintaining, all that is there. This is very, very, very important, and I've spent some time on it because I think it's a huge mistake a lot of people do. And then when they go on retirement and now it's only a certain percentage of your basic salary that you have as income, suddenly you are looking for cheaper drugs to buy, because when you were working, you are buying Pfizer, you are buying AstraZeneca, you are not buying the ones that, the generic ones that are done. Then suddenly you retire and you are buying cheaper drugs and your ailment is not going anywhere. Then another common mistake we do, it's not our fault, because when we were growing up, we all had piggy banks. Some of us had piggy banks. You have a jar, you drop money and then after a while you say, oh, this is my savings, then maybe you take it to the bank or not. So that's the kind of thinking that we have, the savings. But this afternoon I want to draw that distinction between the saving and the investment. There's a difference between saving and investment, and I'll show you why it's so important that even if you save a bit, save small, and get to a certain amount, then you need to invest that amount. Saving is not necessarily investing, because in the normal commercial bank, if you are saving, if you have a savings account, I think on the average you'll be making just about 5% on that savings account. In fact, if you are putting your money even in a current account, then the interest there is actually zero. But when you invest, then you are having, right now, the average interest that you may be getting in this part of the world is about 15%. But the savings will just give you just an average of 5%. So this is why it's important that you try and find an appropriate investment vehicle that you can put some money in for it to actually take the advantage of the compounding effect. So as you see on the screen, I mean, the amount required to achieve 1 million, if you are 20 years, if you have 20 years to retirement, will be 762 if you are putting it into an investment that is averaging 15%. But if you are thinking of just the traditional saving, that's 5%. And that requires more money to achieve your target. At this point in time, even though it's not clearly on the slide, I'd like to draw our attention to the fact that sometimes another common mistake some people make is thinking that insurance is investment. Because I meet my own friends and colleagues and I'll ask them, Charlie, so how, do you have any investment for the future? They'll say, oh yeah, I bought this insurance product. Please, guys, insurance is not an investment. It is important. You must have insurance. But I always say the most common example I give is the car insurance. If you bought car insurance, you haven't invested in your car necessarily, because at the end of the year, it expires and is gone. Or to access it, an event must happen. If you have a funeral policy, an event must happen, a death must happen. If you have the car, an accident or something like that must happen. If you've insured your house, some fire or something unfortunate must happen. So it is a protection. It's something that you must do. So you must have insurance. You necessarily can have the savings account, and you must have the investment too. These are three distinct things that you must have. But the mistake you shouldn't make is to think that you've bought insurance and insurance is the investment. 3 weeks ago or so, I had to help a friend out who had gone to an insurance firm to buy some insurance of sorts. The lady runs a school. So these days, because the school fees and things are a problem, she was hard up and she went in to ask for some of the money. Here's somebody who had invested up to 4,000 cedis, but because of the terms and conditions within the product, she was told that she can get only 900 cedis out of the money she had put in. Forgetting that, of course, if the event had happened, the insurance company would have covered her completely. She was upset, but it's about lack of understanding and the common mistake that we all do. 5, please, let's ensure that our retirement account is completely separate from anything else that we do. That account is for when you have retired. Do not go touching it. Do not mix everything up with your retirement fund, please. Even those of us who think we are experts, we should separate the retirement account from our other expenses. Otherwise, you will find yourself ready or at retirement and you will not have achieved your target. Why? Because as for issues, they will happen. Issues will happen. Fees will come. Funeral will come. Illness will come. It's part of life. So will retirement. So while you have separate accounts for your emergency and for your project and for other things, so must you have a separate account for your retirement. And do not be tempted. I know the temptation is huge, but please, please, please do not be tempted to dip your hand into that account. Otherwise, you will not be able to achieve the target. It's very tempting. I'm talking from experience, and I'm talking from what I have seen people get into, the troubles I've seen people get into. And they'll say, you know, I had to do this, I had to do that. But please try as much as possible to separate them. Then, while you have the investment account, you should know 2 things. You have to have the right mix. 2 things. One is time. You need to match you need to know that the number of years you have left to retire. And you have to also know the risk, your risk tolerance. The 2 kind of go hand in hand, because we always say the older you are, ideally, the less risk you should be taking. That's the ideal situation. And so in taking less risk, it means you are going for more or less riskier assets or investments, like fixed income, like bonds, like bills. Those don't have volatility. Those don't go yo-yo up and down. But the more risk you are likely to be able to take. So then you mix your portfolio a bit of equities. That means stocks or shares, as we know it on stock markets, with different stock markets. And we all know how stock markets can be volatile. They go up, they go down. But over the long period, it's the statistics show, or the research shows, that over the long period, you end up gaining. But if you don't have too much time, it's likely that your risk tolerance will be low. So know the time frame you have and know how to mix the portfolio to balance any risk, and know your risk tolerance. How do you determine your risk tolerance? Commonly, what we say is, if you let's say you invest, you had a long-term view, and then you invest 100 cedis, but you wanted to leave that 100 cedis for another 5 years without touching it. Then after year one, you go to your fund manager and you ask, oh, so the 100 cedis are invested, what's the value now? And then the fund manager tells you, oh, you know, because you said you had a long-term view and you had a high risk tolerance, we put it into a bit of a risky asset. But now the 100 cedis value is 95 cedis. If you panic and you start screaming and shouting and saying, hey, you people, you fund managers, you are cheats, you don't give us correct advice, blah, 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 and you say, okay, give me all my money, please, it means that your risk tolerance is very, very low and you didn't buy the right product for your risk appetite. That is a common test. If you still have the 5 year, you went in and they said your 100 cedis is down 95 cedis, but you say, well, anyway, I'll wait and see. You are worried, very worried, but you say you wait and see. It means you are midway. But if you go in and they say, oh, your 100 cedis is now 95, and you are like, okay, cool. I mean, it means this year the stock market didn't do well, or whatever assets that we put it in didn't do well. I believe that over the longer term, it will be fine. Then your risk appetite is appreciably high, and you have a good risk tolerance to wait. So that's a common way to test your risk tolerance. And bear in mind, risk tolerance is not static. So the fact that maybe in a certain year you had a high risk tolerance doesn't mean that 2 years later you have the same risk tolerance, because issues happen, events happen, the world changes, and is even changing now more rapidly. And so always review it yourself, always ask yourself the same questions over and over again, and make sure that you have the right product mix, and then you have the right risk tolerance. And please, as much as possible, talk to a professional. As much as possible, talk to people who have been doing this for years and years. Don't just listen to friends. We see it in the office all the time, where somebody walks in and says, I want to buy IPAC. Why? Oh, some friend told me that in 2009, IPAC gave him a lot of money and he even bought a car and blah, blah. Yeah, it's true. But how about last year or last 2 years? IPAC has been in negative territory. Somebody won't even come and ask the question. Just because a friend told them that IPAC managed to buy them a car, they just come in. Sometimes they don't even talk to our staff. They fill forms, write, and then that's it. But it's important that you ask the right questions so that you know what you are getting into, and not then start blaming your fund manager for not giving you the right advice. 7, another important point, another important mistake we make. We carry debt into retirement. And we've seen countless examples. We have people who give testimonies about how they were strongly advised not to take debt, but then they did, and they've been in debt in perpetuity, even into retirement, instead of being relaxing and waking up and living the life that you have dreamt of. You are still using your meager pension to be paying debt. And why do people get into debt towards retirement? It's because they mismatch. They have a long-term project, and then they go and borrow some short-term funds to try and meet that long-term project. Once you do that and you mismatch it, you're likely to go into retirement in debt. As much as possible, try and match your debt profile with the time horizon you have, so that by the time you are hitting your retirement point, your debts have been cleared and you walk into retirement debt-free. It's very, very important, you know, and it happens with buildings. I see that the common mistake is when some people are building and then they go and take maybe like a 1-year loan, and then they are using it to build, and they will not do the profiling well. And then even though they've done some numbers and said, okay, this amount that I'm borrowing, I'll use it to maybe build the wall or do the foundation or do something. While they are doing it, they change their mind, they break something, and then suddenly they haven't done what they needed the money to do, and yet the debt is there. They retire, the house is not complete, yet they are in debt. Then they are still paying rent somewhere, or now they have to go and patch by maybe their children, and then in-law matter comes in, all sorts of things. And we see this, you know, all the time at the office and in our interactions. Then, a couple of years ago, the government did the pension reform. So in Ghana, we now have Act 766 is what we work with. We are no more under the PNDC law for most of us who are working. So Ghana now has a 3-tier pension system. So tier 1 is what we all know, that is SNET. And then there's the tier 2, which now brings the private sector into it. So there are fund managers like us, and then there are pension trustees who make sure that they act in the best interest of the contributors. So a lot of the time, what the mistake workers are making is that they are kind of relying, they think that they can just rely on tier 1 and tier 2, and they don't even bother to try and get their companies to do the tier 3 for them. You know, it's very, very important that we understand the purpose for which the tier 1 and maybe to some extent tier 2 has been developed. You know, it's if you know, social security. Social security is not giving you the same level of income that when you were working you would have. It's just a way of balancing or reducing poverty. And the new act even now takes money, let's say, from the rich and redistributes even to the lower income when it gets to the pension level. So now the new pension law even caps how much you can earn from your pension. There's a cap there. You know, it used to, until yesterday, I just read a letter from one of our SNET friends that the maximum used to be 25,000 cedis a month, but it's been moved to 35,000, but we can confirm that. But please, especially for those of you in formal sector, the tier 1 and 2, it will never be enough. The maximum you can get out of that is 60% of your income. That's the maximum. So please, if there's no tier 3 where you work, try and talk to your head of finance or HR or both to bring you into the tier 3. Even then, after 1 and 2, even then, it will not be enough. You need a plan B. Trust me, if you do the numbers and you do what you would want to, if you calculate how you want to retire and what you require, you realize that you are nowhere near where you want to be. So you need a plan B, and you need some other investment to actually, you know, live the kind of retirement that it is that you want to live. And don't forget, these numbers are calculated on your basic salary. Please, the allowances will all vanish. Do not go calculating things based on the allowances. So it's very, very important. And those of us who are self-employed, most of us don't even go and contribute to SNET at all because of what we've heard and say that, oh, as for the SNET, it won't give you anything, it won't give you anything. I advise that no matter how small it is, still there's a way private persons can contribute to SNET. And I will recommend that you do that, because if you do that and you are able to do your number of months required, at worst, you will get something small, no matter what. Rather than take the risk, if you are not careful, you take the risk and you put everything into something that you believe will be your pension, and then it crashes. We've seen it. So don't shy away from SNET. They are not bad people or they are not cheats as some of us think. They are not. I'll recommend that you do that. But for those of us in formal sector, please, the tier 1 and 2 will not be enough. Push for tier 3 and also have a plan B. Then the 9th one. Here on the Provident Fund, I was even going to say it with a mistake 8. But a lot of the time, you know, what we used to call Provident Fund is technically what is tier 3 now. And I have found out that when a person is working in company A and is lucky to be having the Provident Fund or tier 3 and is moving to company B, they go and write a letter to their HR and finance and say, I want to cash out my Provident Fund, give me my money, and then they move. It's a mistake. Look, the Provident Fund is technically a pension fund. A lot of the time I see companies, because there are clauses where after a certain number of years you can withdraw. Once it gets to that number of years, you see employees going to withdraw. It's not meant to meet a daily expense or some project expense. It is for your pension. So please leave it. You can port your tier 3 from company A to company B to company C. You can port it. And then even after retirement, let's assume that you still have your Provident Fund there. After retirement, you don't have to go and take it all lump sum. No, it's not absolutely, you don't have to. You can still keep it invested. It's still with the fund manager. It's still with the same trustee. The trustee can still give you the same statements they were giving you. The fund manager, it's there. You don't have to go and cash it all and blow it. If there's a business you want to do post 60 that maybe you really wanted to do it too, please research that business. Don't just listen to a friend who did it and just say, they say poultry is good. They say pure water is good. They say this, they say that. Research it yourself so that you do not sink good money after a bad business and then lose all your pension. It's very, very important, because as long as the money is still with the trustee and the fund manager, it is still earning some income. Finally, a lot of us think we'll never retire. That is erroneous. I've seen my parents grow, work, and retired. And even me now, I've also worked. I can see retirement in the right ahead of me. It's there. We will retire. But more importantly, this is to the self-employed people. A lot of self-employed people believe that they can work till their last day and then just drop off. It is a very big mistake that we make. It's possible, yes, there are some people who are blessed enough to be able to work till they are 80, 85, to their last day. But do not prepare in that mode. Prepare as if you will retire, because the older you get, clearly the weaker you will be. Why do you want to still be having the grind of 8 to 5 and moving back and forth, when you are supposed to be enjoying retirement? Yeah, I understand if you are doing it because you don't want to be bored, that's a different matter. If you are doing it just to occupy yourself, that's a different matter. But if you are doing it because you need a grind to survive, then that's a mistake. Do not think that you will not retire. You will definitely retire. So after showing you all the mistakes that people make, at least before I go, let me leave you with some things you can also do to be able to ensure that you avoid the mistakes. Before that, yeah, those of us who are in the formal sector, that you don't know, you can go to the SNIT website. It's a very, very educative website, but I'm just showing you this just to drive home the point that we make about why people get shocked. Now, the example you are seeing there, the way SNIT calculates it, they take the annual best the three best annual salaries of your career, the three best. So the example that you are seeing is somebody whose three best was 60,000, 58,000, and 44,000, giving an average best of 54,000. Now, if you divide that into 12, so that means that the monthly basic was 4,500. Now, there's something the SNIT calls the pension right. And the pension right is a calculation there, but it's a factor of the number of months you've contributed, and then there's a basic figure that they give you up to 15 years, and then every year they add another little percentage. But this example we have is for somebody who has contributed for 240 months. 240 months, was earning 4,500 and retired at 60. That is the third column there. Age of retirement is 60. That's why you see the factor as 1. That means that you are getting your full pension. If you retire at 59, it will be 0.5 something. At 58, point something like that till 55. In Ghana, you can retire from age 55, but if you retire from age 55, it means that your factor won't be 1, it will even be less, and you even earn less than the 4,500. But this is somebody who has contributed 240 months, was earning 4,500 basic. Now look at the pension right he has. The person will now go home with 1,940. This is your basic. Even the allowances too haven't come. So naturally, it shocks you. It hits you like a bullet. It's less than half of what you were earning. Then the tier 2 will come. You can go to your trustee and go and demand a statement. If you are not getting a statement, everybody tier 2 has a trustee and they are obliged to give you statements. Go and see what it is that is happening to your tier 2 pension. So same for tier 3 if you have. If you are, if even with SNIT, it's important that you go and check to make sure that your statement is accurate, because sometimes there are certain gaps. Most of the time, if you are working in the public sector, it's unlikely that you'll be having those gaps. But some private sector companies will show you on your pay slip that they have paid your pension for you, but maybe the money hasn't moved. It's a crime. Check your statement and make sure that you are well covered. Then you must know your retirement number. You have to know your retirement number. This one, we have trademarked it. At Databank, we believe we can let you know your retirement number. The retirement number is the amount you need to invest regularly to achieve that retirement goal that I had told you as mistake 1, because you need to have that goal and know what number is required to hit that goal. Now at Databank, we have all sorts of calculators that you can use. As you listen to me now, you can even go onto our website, www.databankgroup.com right now, and you will see our retirement calculators there, investment calculators there. You can then play with the numbers and you can say, okay, I want to earn 3 million, and then average, you can put any interest rate that you want there. It will show you what number you require to invest regularly to achieve that retirement goal of yours. But as things stand now, we use an average return of 15% per annum. Things can change. It could go up, it could go down, but it's just an average. It's just a guide. And when I know some of you are also thinking, when you go and see your retirement number there, some of you are also thinking about inflation and all that. Yes, we know that inflation and depreciation happens, but this is just a guide. And when I'm talking to some of my people, I tell them, okay, you can think of the number as dollars. If you think of it as dollars and you believe dollars do not depreciate, then that is it. But you have to know your retirement number. Let me show you just a small table of what your retirement number could be and why it is important to start now and not later. Do not procrastinate, because the longer you wait, the more difficult it will be for you to hit that retirement number of yours. So if you are age 25 today, just look at that. To hit 1 million by age 60, you need 89. You can use dollars, CDs, whatever, but we are talking CDs right now. If you do that, you would have contributed 37,225. And interest, the power of compounding interest alone gives you almost all that you need. So the earlier you start, the easier it is. At 25, you need 89 CDs. Now, look at this. Every 5 years, the number is doubling. So for every 5 years that you wait, that number is doubling. If you are lucky to be working already at age 30, and you can be putting aside 180 cedis, and you tell yourself life begins at 40. So you will wait, and then that number will become 762. I repeat, I have not even put in inflation and depreciation here to keep the dollar value of it. So it should tell you how important it is to start early. Now, I always tell people who listen to me that if for whatever reason, if you are lucky enough and every year you get a salary adjustment and you started at 180 cedis, if your salary is adjusted by 10%, why don't you also adjust this figure by 10%? It's that simple, so that you can keep the value at least at an appreciable number. So what is your retirement number? Is it 180, 762, 3,847? You should know what your retirement number is and start working towards it now, because the longer you wait, the more difficult it will be. Please visit our website now. Go onto our retirement calculators and you will be able to see what your retirement number is. As you can see, this is the screenshot of what you'll be seeing on the website, whether you want a fixed amount, whether you want a lump sum, or there are budget planners there. You can put in all sorts of variables, and you will be able to really see what it takes. Look, when you do it for the first time, I can assure you that it really, really is a shocker. You think that, oh, you have time, and so you'll be able to, meet that your goal within the shortest possible time. No, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of discipline, and it must become a habit. If you don't invest towards your retirement in any month, you should not feel correct. You should feel something is wrong. That is the level at which we need to get to, such that if we do not invest, then we are not happy. So please visit our website and know your retirement number. Once you know your retirement number, you then have to decide that you're choosing the right investment mix. And like I said earlier on, the right investment mix is also a big factor of your risk tolerance. So you should understand your risk tolerance and talk to a professional, and we will advise you on how best you can achieve that number. So you should have your time horizon in place all the time. If you are, it's short, for as rule of thumb, short term for us is less than 3 years, medium term is 3 to 5 years, and the long term is over 5 years. the data is, as we get more and more data series, we are thinking of even revising long term to mean over 10 years, and medium term to mean 5 to 10 years, and short term to mean 5 or less. Because the world has really changed, and the data is giving us different results that we are having. So I've already talked about the risk tolerance thing, but this is exactly what I was talking about, and how you would feel if you lost some money, even though you intended to invest for 5 years. If your risk tolerance is high, if you are not too concerned and you are in it for the long term. Medium, if you are concerned, but you keep it and just watch. And then it's low if you are very concerned and you panic and you are throwing tantrums all over the office like some of our clients do. That means that you didn't understand your risk profile properly. And I've said it, your risk profile is not constant. It's not something that lives with you like the same forever. Naturally, the older you are, the lower your risk tolerance, and the younger you are, the higher the risk tolerance. That is just the rule of thumb. But we know some elderly people who are still ready to take high risk, and we know some young ones too who are not prepared to take any risk at all. So just as a guide, and honestly, yes, this is a Databank series, but I don't really mind as long as you do have an appropriate product. But I'll still talk to you about the products that you can actually go into depending on your risk profile. So on the extreme left is the low risk person. At Databank, we have M Fund for you. We have Eddie Fund Tier 1. You can buy treasury bills from us. You can buy bonds from us. These are what we call fixed income products, and they normally wouldn't have volatility. They are slow but sure. The rates may not be that extremely high, but they are steady, and you are sure of getting the return that the portfolio mix would show. Then if you are in medium, you can start introducing some volatility. So we then add and recommend ARC fund, B fund, Eddy fund tier 2. These funds have some shares in them. They have some what we call equity in them. So there's some level of volatility in there. What we usually hope is that in a bad year for stocks, then the fixed income can balance it a bit. And then in a good year for stocks, then it even pulls the return much, much higher. I would say that in the last 3 years, ARC fund and B fund have the fixed income that has come in, it has not been enough to offset the decline in the stocks. But we are positive that as the years roll by, it will knock it off. Then if your risk tolerance is very high, in addition to the other products, then you can come in with EPAC, which is our equity-based product, which means that 80% or 70%, sorry, of the investment are in stocks, and we put a bit in fixed income for liquidity purposes as well. Or you can come and buy shares yourself. There are some people who come in and will not want to buy into EPAC, but will want to buy specifically into certain companies, and we will do that for you. So to conclude, I'd just like to state and quote that the quality of your retirement tomorrow will depend on the quality of the retirement planning decisions you make today. So please plan, and more importantly, execute and enjoy your retirement. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very, very much, Kojo. It is greatly appreciated. And I know there was a lot that you had to say. I hope everybody was able to take it in. But I'm really, really happy that you were able to share. So before we move into the Q&A section, we just have a few prizes, that we will be giving away, and then we'll start taking your questions. So Benjamin, I see your question in the chat, and I'll get to it very, very soon. So we have some airtime to give away, a few 20 CD airtime vouchers. Then we have 250 CD gift vouchers and 2 100 CD gift vouchers. I'll explain how this will work. So what we'll do is I'll ask you a question, and I need you to raise your hand. The first person that raises their hand, I'll call on you. If the answer is correct, then by all means, you'll get the prize. If not, we'll move to the next person. There are some times I will ask you to raise your hand, and other times I will ask you to put the answer in the chat. But I need all hands lowered. So Kojo Addae-Mensah, I'll just ask you to lower your hand just for a bit, and Seth. We'll come back to the questions. But if everybody could lower their hands, please. I can see you're all excited. Oh, guys, please. Thank you. Wait, the hands should come down. Let me ask the question first, and then the hands can go up. Oh, wow. Okay. All right, so hands down. Hands down, please. So the more I say hands down, is the more the hands go up. So, well, then it means that I'll have to send you to put the thing in your answer in the chat. All right, so question number 1. And if your hand is up and I've seen your name, then I won't call on you first, even when I ask my question. So there are 3 of you, now 2 of you whose hands are still up, but I'll go to the next person. So please bear with me. So question number 1, for 20 CDs airtime, is what is Databank's USSD code? It's 4 digits, that's a clue. And which networks can it be used on? I will start by calling Grace. Grace, I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself and answer the question. Samuel, I've seen you. If Grace doesn't answer, I'll come to you. So Grace, the question is, what is Databank's USSD code and which networks can it be used on?
So the code is *6100# and it can be used on the MTN.
Okay, is that your final answer?
And there's also *713 *100#.
No, I was only asking about the USSD code, the *6100 and which network. So just to be clear, your response is *6100 and MTN.
Yes, please.
Unfortunately, that answer is not correct. So I will have to go with Samuel. So Grace, what you missed was it's also available on Vodafone as well. So both MTN and Vodafone. So Samuel Sosu, you have just won 20 CDs of airtime, and just put your phone number in the chat. DM me with your phone number, and then we will follow up with you after the meeting. So another 20 CD airtime giveaway is, and this one, you will have to type it in the chat. So I hope you can type really quickly. So if your hands are up, please note that I am looking for the typed answer. Somebody is already typing and I haven't asked the question, but it's okay. All right. So the next question is, what are the 5 things you can do on *6100#? So 5 things that you can do on *6100#. Let me see. Okay, somebody, wow, all right. So Daniel Amarte, no, you gave me 1. 1 second, somebody typed. I saw all the correct answers. Okay. So 1 moment, please. All right, I see that 1, 2, 3, 4. Solomon, no, you only listed 4 things. And okay, everybody else listed 3 or 4 things. Only Mr. Samuel Sosu did 5. So 1 moment, please. So the correct answer is you can open an account, you can check your balance, you can top up your account, you can sign up for direct debit, and you can place a withdrawal request. So again, 20 CDs airtime for that. Okay. I have 1 more question, and Samuel, this time, don't answer, please. Let somebody else try, and then we'll give you another chance later. So the third question is, in fact, for this one, I am going to, 1 moment. Look at hands. Okay, could I ask everybody to lower their hands? Because this one, I would like you to actually respond so I can hear your voice. Yes, Eric, I've seen your comment that they're not responding to everyone. The answers, some of the answers are coming to me directly, but I'm able to see everything that is in the chat. So if everyone can lower their hands, then I will ask the questions. Catherine, hey, I didn't mention your name. I didn't see all of your things. I saw Samuel's first, and it was first come, first serve. But try and answer this next question. So Kojo, in his presentation, spoke about retirement number. I would like to know, what is the definition of the retirement number, and where can you find the calculator if you would like to find out your number? So this one, I want to hear somebody's voice. So Ignatius, I will ask you to unmute yourself and give me the answer.
Okay. Hello. So,
yes, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good. So how do you define retirement number, or what was the definition that Kojo gave? And where can you find the calculator if you would like to find out your own number?
Okay, you can find that one on the Databank website.
Okay.
And then the number itself, he defined that one as the number of years that you need to get into your retirement and the amount that you need to invest at a particular point in time in order to achieve that goal.
Okay, so just repeat it for me one more time.
Saying that the number he defined as the number of years that you are, it's estimated for you to get to your retirement age, and the amount that you need to invest at a particular point in time in order to get to the goal amount that you have set for yourself.
Okay. All right. I will give it to you. Yes. So retirement number is simply the amount that you need to invest on a monthly basis or a regular basis to hit your retirement goal. So hold on, Ignatius, can you send us your phone number in the chat just to confirm? Okay. And then you also won 20 CDs. All right, so we'll pause here and take some questions, and then after that, we will give out the gift vouchers, and there are 4 of them, 2 for 50 CDs and 2 for 100 CDs. But for now, I'd like us to actually focus on getting your questions answered. So, because you did come here to learn as much as you can about retirement. So, any hand that is up now, I will assume that it is because you have a question. So I'll start with 2 questions that I saw in the chat. Just give me one moment. All right, so Kojo, the first, Mohammed, is that your hand up? Somebody's raising their physical hand. So Mohammed, I've seen you, we'll call you. Derry, yes, I see you too. Don't worry, I'll call you, we have time. So let me just start with a couple in the chat. Kojo, if you're listening, the first question is, Benjamin says he's overseas and he wants to know how to continually pay into his EPAC without bank charges.
Without bank charges, I'm not sure. I don't think anybody does these things for free anymore these days. But we do have the Visa and the MasterCard option. Actually, we are exploring the World Remit and SendWave options as well. We haven't concluded that, but today, at least, I'm positive that if you have a Visa or a MasterCard, you can actually invest into your mutual fund account with us. But it will come with charges, and it's not a Databank charge. It's the Visa and MasterCard and the banks there who do charge. But I don't think anybody does any transfer for free at all.
Okay, thank you. So Harriet, also in the US, had a similar question where she wanted to know if she could top up her M fund using her credit card. And Harriet, as Kojo said, yes, the answer is yes. You can go to our website and you can top up your account using Visa or MasterCard. All right, then I'll do one more from the, okay. Oh, wow. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to keep track of all the questions. So Godwin Doncor says, at age 42, can I still start contributing to my tier 3 before retirement? If so, what will be the minimum amount to start? Thank you.
Okay, so for tier 3, I am assuming that you're in formal sector. So most of the time, what happens is the staff member contributes a certain percentage, and then the company also will match that percentage. However, if you're in a company that is not willing to do it, you are the contribution of tier 3 is up to 16.5% of your basic. So you can contribute all of that if your salary can hold it, or you can contribute any percentage from 0 up to 16.5% of your basic.
Okay, thank you. And then the last one that I'll read from the chat before I start taking the hands is Christian said, great presentation, Mr. Kojo Addae-Mensah. Can you please explain what balanced funds are? How can I get a balanced fund if I'm already on M Fund? Thank you.
Okay, so our products, EPAC, M Fund, B Fund, ARC Fund, Eddy Fund Tier 1 and 2, you can have investments in all of it. If you are a recent client, under one account, you can actually have all those funds. Now, our balanced funds are ARC Fund, B Fund, and Eddy Fund 2. What we mean by a balanced fund is there's a certain percentage of the fixed income, that is, we will be buying bonds and bills, and there's a certain percentage within the balanced fund that will be buying shares, that is stocks. The balances differ depending on the product, and we differ them because of risk profiles. So B Fund has a higher percentage of stocks and shares than ARC Fund does, but they both have a certain, we have been tweaking it a bit recently, but as a rule of thumb, B Fund was 60% in fixed deposit, 40% in shares, while ARC Fund was 70% in fixed deposits and 30% in shares. While Eddy Fund Tier 2 actually gives the widest range that we can go. So in fact, Eddy Fund Tier 2 gives us the opportunity to do as much as 90+% in fixed deposit and very little in shares. So it all is designed to meet different risk profiles. I hope I answered that. Okay, thank you. All right, so let me go to Bede Derry. That's how I see your name, and then I'll go to Mohammed. So one moment, let me just find you and let me unmute, 1 second. Okay, please unmute yourself and then you can ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good afternoon to you all.
Afternoon.
Yeah, okay, I have a couple of questions, but I want to know, I've saved with Databank for more than 5 years now. Yeah, but I think with all the products, looking at my risk level also, I'm much interested in the M Fund. And here that Mr. Kojo told us that if we are planning for a long-term investment, we should not touch our money. And here is the case, I only like M Fund. So is it possible for me to get multiple M Fund accounts? Because definitely something will come up and I'll touch the money in the M Fund. But I want to create a retirement plan with the M Fund account where I cannot touch that money. So is it possible to have multiple M Fund accounts?
Yes, it's possible. You can do that. No problem at all.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yes. So you can have one for your emergency account, one for retirement, one for your project. What we always say is let the relationship manager know the reason. Then that way we'll put it beside your name. So you may see, we may say, I'm sorry, what's your first name?
Betty.
B.
Betty. Okay, so we may say Betty Derry project or Betty Derry retirement, just to differentiate. And then, Kojo, I don't know if you want to talk to him about putting the lien on the account to prevent him from taking.
Yeah, maybe for the benefit of all others. You know, our mutual funds are very, very flexible, extremely flexible. I tell people that it's up to you. You can invest on Monday and Friday. You can say, look, you are no more interested and come for your money. But a lot of people don't like that flexibility and that ease with which they have access to their funds. So they ask us of a way we can sort of block their account. So if there's any particular one that you don't want to have ease of, withdrawing, you can request that we put a lien on it or a block on the accounts and a note there that this one is for long term. Bid said no withdrawals. Then we put it there.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Mohammed.
thank you very much.
Okay. Mohammed, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Mohammed Abdallah. It's saying that your bandwidth is low, so
It's
let's
frozen.
see. Yeah, you're a bit frozen. We may have to come back to you. Okay, I'm going to move to Gideon. And then Mohammed, if your speaker starts working, then we'll get back to you. So
Hello,
Gideon, please go ahead. Yes.
Hello. Okay.
Hi.
Yes, I have two questions. If you have an investment account for say 20 years, and then in 5 years time you want to make a withdrawal and continue with the investment, can you do that? That's the first question. And the second question is that, can you explain the managers of the tier 1 and the tier 2 of SNET when you are in the formal sector? These are my two questions, and I would like you to respond. Thank you.
Okay. So if I understand your first question is like maybe you originally wanted to be investing for 10 years and then somewhere along the line something came up and you want to come for your money in the middle and then still continue. And like I said, yes, mutual funds are meant to be extremely flexible. We give you recommended holding periods because of the experience we have and because of the research we do around it. But nothing stops you from coming for your money at any point in time that you want. Nothing stops you from bringing money into the account at any time you want. The fact that maybe you tell yourself every month you put in 200 cedis and maybe you get some gift of 1,000 cedis, you can still come and put it in. Or if you are hot and something has happened and the time is not yet due, you can still come and withdraw. That's not a problem at all. So it's all flexible and it's all up to you to be able to manage. Your second question was the managers of the SNET and the tier 2 thing. So the way it works is for tier 1, that's purely the government one. SNET is the trustee, and then SNET itself within their organization have their own fund management subsidiary or investment subsidiary. So the monies that go there, SNET, the investment wing of it, will do the investments that will be used to pay you when you are in retirement. So some of the you see that SNET is well invested in some banks, in some other projects. They are shareholders in a lot of investments in Ghana. Then the tier 2, the pension reform brought the private sector in. So what it is that there will also be a deduction from your salary, but this time it's not going to SNET. It goes to a private trustee. So I didn't want to be advertising, but there are trustees you see like Enterprise Trustees, Petra, Access Pension. They are trustees. So they are licensed by the NPRA, the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. They are licensed by them. So when the money goes there, the trustees then also have fund managers like us at Databank, who they will sit with and agree how those monies are invested. Now, the investments are all governed by law. The NPRA and the Pensions Act guides us on how we can invest the money for your safety, because we can't just go and put it in any investment that now that you retired, we tell you that your money has gone away. No, it's not allowed like that. It's really regulated by the NPRA.
Okay, thank you, Kojo. So Mohammed, I'll try with you one more time before moving on to Agnes. Are you able to unmute yourself and ask your question? In fact, now I don't even see him.
He's even gone off.
Yeah, okay, so let me move to Agnes. Please unmute yourself, ask your question. Then I'll go to Edwina, who is very patient with her hand on her chin.
Hello, that wasn't a question. Actually, it was an answer to your questions.
Ah, okay. All right, so thank you very much for attending. I'll at least say hello and thank you. So we'll move on to Edward Dunto. So Edward, I'll ask you to unmute yourself and then ask your question.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have two questions. And first goes like this. I just arranged from your email, that's your website, wanted to open an account for a staff, which basically goes for, we put in funds there, and at the end of the year, like we see how much we have there, we take, and if we have to buy some package for ourselves for the year, then we does it. But listen to the person who gave us the education. Now we need to save it there for a future. With this scenario, how best can he advise us not to touch the funds, and maybe with 2 years time, 3 years time, we have enough over there where we can withdraw whatever we want to do, we do with it. The second question goes like this. With the multiple accounts, will there be one account number, or there will be a multiple account where we will put a block on one? Thank you.
Thank you
very much, Edward. If I understand your first question, it sounds to me like it's a welfare fund of sorts within a certain company that you want to be putting some money aside, and then maybe when it comes to Christmas or birthday or wedding or outdooring or something like that, you can use. I'm just assuming. Yes, it's possible. I mean, if it's a welfare fund, you come with your articles of memorandum, and then we'll open with the necessary signatories. And I'll repeat that how you withdraw and how you deposit is entirely up to you. All I was doing was advising that if you have an account that you intend to use for your retirement, that is when you are 60 and above, please don't go touching them. What you describe will not qualify for a retirement account. It will qualify for either a project or emergency or something. So you can still come in and open the account for that purpose, where you want to maybe Christmas buy some rice and oil and stuff for the people who have contributed. That is doable. And if you want a retirement one, to is separate. And yes, you will have one account number under which you will have your multiple funds underneath that single one account number. In our previous system, that we didn't have that ability to do that, but now we do. So it's just one account number for you, and you have your multiple funds underneath it.
All right. Thank you, Kojo.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. So let me jump back to the chat, and there are just a few questions that I want us to clear, then we'll go back to a few people. So, okay, Kojo, I will ask you a few questions at the same time. Somebody wants you to throw more light on the 3 tiers, the difference between the 3 tiers. That was Emmanuel Owusu. Then there was also a question about, as a public sector worker, how do I check my tier 2? So I think that can be tied in. And then there were 2 questions about leaving your company and moving the tier 3. So I don't know if you want me to just ask you all of those and then you do it in one big answer.
I think I can tie it all right now.
Okay, so let me ask you the questions and then you just bring it together because they're all related. So one was explaining the difference between the 3 tiers. Then the other one was how to check tier 2 as a public sector worker. Then another one was for tier 3. Vincent says he hears that the interest is reduced because he left the original company. So he's asking whether you think he should leave the money there. I think that's what he's asking, or move it. And then a similar related question is somebody who also has tier 3, wants to draw down on it to finish his building. And he says he has about 20 years to retirement. So he's looking for your advice. And then the last one that I will tie in, because it's related, is that the person is asking, if you are moving employees and your current employer has a provident fund, but the new employer doesn't have one, what should happen? So I don't know if you can just answer those 5 altogether.
I'll try. If I miss it, then you just remind me. Okay. So the difference between the 3 tiers. So like I said, with the pension reforms that came before the new Pension Act and the reforms, the only pension that we had as a country was SSNIT. SSNIT was our all in all, and that's all we had. But we decided as a country to do some reforms and move into best practice. So we had our 3-tier pension scheme. I'll explain again. Tier 1 is SSNIT, is the government one. That is what all of us, at least by default and by law, we should have. Tier 1 and 2 by law. But tier 1 is the government run one. That's the government scheme. Then tier 2 is also required by law, but it's run by the private sector. So that one is regulated by the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. So they have licensed private trustees. You know, SSNIT is Social Security and National Insurance Trust. So SSNIT is also a trustee, it's a government trustee. But NPRA is now licensing private trustees. So they will license a trustee, and your employer must deduct both tier 1 to send it to SSNIT and tier 2 to send it to your own company's appointed trustee. So your company will appoint one of the licensed trustees of NPRA. Then that trustee will then appoint one or more fund managers to manage that money that they are receiving. With SSNIT tier 1, they manage it themselves. They don't really appoint private sector managers. But with tier 2, the private sector trustee will appoint a fund manager duly licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission like Databank, and they will sit down, and there are rules around how the investments must be made. So there are percentages that you have to do in government bonds, in stocks, so that it protects you, the contributor. Tier 3 is not compulsory by law, but it is tax deductible. And I think that explains the question somebody was asking, that he said his interest dropped. It's possible that if you do not contribute, I think it's 10 years, if you haven't contributed in tier 3 for 10 years and you go in to withdraw, that tax deductible advantage is taken away. So the money there will be a penalty there for you. So I don't know if you have contributed more than 10 years and you are going to withdraw. If it's less than 10 years and you are going to withdraw, then your tax advantage is removed from you. It is a way to deter people from just withdrawing anyhow. So the tier 3, even though it's not compulsory, has a tax advantage, and that one it's always advisable because it adds to the amount of money you can earn at pension. Now, the public sector tier 2, how can you check? Please, every tier 2 has a trustee. Every tier 2 or must have a trustee. So if you are in the public sector and they are deducting you tier 2, please go. Usually it's your HR or your finance who will know. They will know who the details are, and ask them who your trustee is. And if they tell you, you can contact that trustee and demand a statement to know exactly what it is that is being contributed towards your tier 2 retirement. And there are a few cases where I know trustees have changed fund managers because they have not been happy with the investment decisions that are being made. If I recall, somebody said they have a tier 3 that they want to withdraw to use to build a house.
Yes,
okay,
and they have 20 years to retirement.
And they have 20 years to retirement.
Mm-hmm.
I will be surprised if the amount that the person is going to withdraw will completely complete the house such that it is livable. If that is the case, and that will be where you can comfortably go and retire, I will not necessarily say no. But if you are going to withdraw it for it to build a house up to lentil stage, I will, ask Kojo, advising you professionally, advise not to do that. Just keep the money still invested and wait till it is at a point where if you know you are going to withdraw, it will actually complete what it is that you want to complete. Trust me, I have seen people who have believed that they can be withdrawing on their tier 3, small, and by the time they are 60 or retiring, they would have finished building the house. Most of the time, they don't. And here they will be stuck without a house and stuck without a tier 3 either, and would have lost. Their tier 3 will be sitting in cement, and you are still going to be renting or patching. So if your withdrawal is going to be able to complete the house to the extent that you can now move in upon retirement, fine. But if not, then please stay put. Then somebody asked that employer A, where he was, had a Provident Fund tier 3, and employer B, where he's going, do not have any. So in that case, what do they do? I would advise that once the money is still invested, you probably leave it. You can then, with your new employer, have a conversation around that to see if they will support you to be able to continue contributing towards that tier 3 using the existing trustee. So if you are using the existing trustee, they can still be deducting from your salary straight to the trustee of your previous employer, and you will still continue to have your Provident Fund. Have I missed anything?
No, I think that's it. And then let me move to Eugene. Okay, Eugene, if you can unmute yourself and ask your question, then I'll go to Alberta. So Eugene, please unmute yourself. And Alberta, you can unmute yourself as well. Okay. All right, Alberta, go ahead, please.
Mine is just a simple question. I have just 2 years to retire. Now, if you need to, looking at the charts that was presented, that means my time has expired. So I just need an advice on what to do within these 2 years so that I can get something back home. Thank you.
Actually, Alberta, maybe I didn't clarify something. Your time hasn't expired. And actually, I've had occasion to talk to pensioners and still advise those who can still even invest part of their pension, like, because your pension is an income, right? And my rule of thumb, as I always say, is if you can tithe, you can invest. So just you can still invest 10% of whatever pension it is you have, just to be putting something aside. You never know what it is. But Alberta, it's never, ever too late to start. You can always start. You may not get the target that you would have desired, but never give up, never throw your hands up in despair. As long as you are earning something, you can start something. But if you are that old, do not panic. Do not rush into a risky thing that you want to hurry up and reach a certain target. Just come in and ask for some fixed deposit that will give you slow but sure return, and you'll be fine. I mean, I maybe have put too much of fear into people, but it's never too late to start, never. Because like I said, I mean, if you retire at 60 and you're going to live till 90, that's another 30 years of your life right there. And then things will happen and you can still put something aside for other purposes.
All right. Thank you, Kojo, for that. Apechi Ampia is asking a question that I think is quite important, which is how do we who work as contractors plan for retirement? We don't get the same opportunity to enjoy SNP contributions. So probably you can talk to contractors and also touch on like people who are self-employed who need to take their own steps as well.
Okay, so when I was presenting, I did mention that especially self-employed people, that's where I put it, but contractors are same. And I did say that SNP does have a program for the informal sector or inconsistent, let's say inconsistent contributors. They do have a program there. If you visit their office and any of their offices, they are quite knowledgeable and you talk to them, they will be able to advise you accordingly. That gives you that social protection and the social network that is required. But if you're a contractor as well, like I said, the plan B is important. You can take any of our products depending on your risk profile. And anytime you get something, you can come and deposit it and invest it. It doesn't necessarily have to be every month or every quarter or every day. As long as you get something anytime, you can just put something aside for the future in any of our products, depending on your risk profile. But I'll advise that for the social protection that you may also require, it will be good to walk into a SNP office and have a conversation with them. They are quite helpful.
Okay, thanks, Kojo. So now I'm going back to hands up. Sheriff Bonnie, if I can get you to unmute yourself, please, and ask your question.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Afternoon, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I think Kojo has already answered my question. Someone asked the same question. I have, I think, 2 products with you. No, actually 3 products, MFAM, BINFA, and EPAC. But like, I wanted to find out if Databank has a special product for retirement. Typical example, like when you go to enterprise, they have enterprise pension, or if you go to Old Mutual, they have a special investment for retirement. So since I have the 3, EPAC, BIFA, and MFA, I would like to know if I can get a special product that I'll only be contributing it to my retirement without touching the other 3 that I have. I don't know if you got my question.
Yes, Sheriff, I got you loud and clear. So that specific retirement product is in the works, to be honest. We are going through the regulatory loops and hoops to finally launch it. But even then, if you read our literature, you would see that we had positioned B-Fund as our appropriate retirement product because of the balanced nature of it. And if you had the necessary time to be able to ride out whatever volatilities there will be there. But like I keep saying, and one of the participants asked that question, that they want only MFAN looking at their profile. So for them, it will be only MFAN that they will invest in. All you have to do is to make a decision that, for me, this is the product I'm going to use as my retirement account, and I'll stick to it. So you don't even need to have a specific one, but it is still it's something we have designed because we want to bring in other features that are not necessarily in our existing products, so that it will inure towards a proper, comfortable retirement. So that one, we are going through a lot of paperwork and regulatory requirements, and we hope to launch it later in this year, very soon. But you can use any of our existing products to still achieve the same target.
Okay, thanks, Kojo. Bridget, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? We can't hear you. Can anybody else hear Bridget?
No, I can't see. I can't hear.
Okay, so we can't hear you. Okay, I think maybe your speaker, I'm not sure what's happening, so we'll try again. All right, Hilda. Okay, Kojo, I can see you again now. Hilda, please unmute yourself and ask your question, and then I'll touch a few more.
Thank you. So I know I've heard a few of your seminars where, and actually other investment companies explaining how bonds work. So my assumption is that with the treasury bill, you get your full payout at maturity. But my understanding is that with the bond, you get a payout periodically. So it may be twice a year or 4 times a year of the interest on your investment. So I am thinking of a compounding interest vehicle where the interest rolls back into the investment for the next term. And I'm not sure if that is possible to achieve with the bond, because I don't want to receive payouts, but I also want the bond because obviously the interest rate is higher than the treasury bills. So I just wanted to find out if it is possible to say don't pay out and continue to roll over my interest into the investment, the bond.
Jillian.
Yes.
Make a note on this one. I think it depends on the type of bond. I don't want to give an answer that I'm not 100% sure of. So Hilda, you have raised a fantastic point. Yes, the bonds will give you your coupons, and I am not like the treasury bill 1 year, you can roll it over, I know, and then you are looking to take advantage of the slightly higher interest in the bonds, but you don't want your coupon payout. It's a fantastic question. I think it depends on what type of bond, but I'll have to get back to you on that, Hilda.
I would really appreciate it. So the reason is that I'm not in the country and I have never contributed to SNIT. So I want my money to just sit there so that at least I know that my retirement is taken care of. If you pay me out, I'm not in the country and I'm not going to use that money. So I'd rather have it roll over. So I really appreciate a response on that.
I assume you registered yourself for this seminar, or are you using somebody's registration?
No, I registered myself.
And she's put her question in the chat, so I've seen it as well in the chat.
So let's note it, Jillian, and we'll get back to her.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you
Hilda,
so much.
thank you very much. Thank you very much too.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Hilda. Henry had a question about when you were doing your slides on matching your risk tolerance to your investments. He had noticed that M Fund appeared in all of the columns, the low, medium, and risk. And he wanted to know what the difference was, and I guess essentially why it appeared in all three.
Okay, so what I was trying to illustrate was that if you were on the extreme left where your risk tolerance was very, very low, then these were the only products we will advise you go in for. And if it was medium, we added 3 more. And if it was high, we added 2 more. What it means is that if your risk tolerance is even high, you can still invest in all those products that we had listed. But if your risk tolerance is very low, then you don't go adding the other 5 that we had put into the next 2 columns. So that's really it. Because if your risk tolerance is high, you can still go into a low risk product. Nothing stops you.
Okay, thank you. Mark asked a question, can monthly deductions be made from controller and accountant general department? I'll just answer that quickly to say, yes, it can. Please visit our website and you'll see all the information you need there. Just go to digital services, you'll see that there. A couple other people asked about deductions. Can it be done from their bank account? Some asked about GCB, others mentioned other accounts. Yes, that's also an option. The service is called direct debit, where we take the money from your bank account and put it into the fund that you want. And so again, the forms are on our website. You can go there and set it up so that it runs automatically. So Kojo, a couple more questions. So somebody wants to know, are Tier 1 and Tier 2 contributions automatic for people in Ghana Health Service? Also, what are the steps I need to take to activate my Tier 3? Then he wants to know, is it also advisable in relation to your pension contributions to quit your job, go back to school in order to get a higher paying job so you can contribute more?
Interesting one. Ghana Health Service is public. It's a public service. Definitely, your Tier 1 and Tier 2 are being deducted. What is important is for you to know who your trustees are, and have a conversation with your human resource or your finance department on where it is going and how you can get your statements. And if you are there and you want to contribute to Tier 3, it's again, unfortunately or fortunately, a conversation you must have with your HR and finance. If Ghana Health Service are not ready to match whatever you want to contribute, you would then have to instruct them to contribute on your behalf. That is what I know, and that's the advice I'll give you. Was there some other question I missed?
Yes, so the second part of it, I've lost it. Sorry.
Yeah, there was a second part.
It shifted. So I'll come back to you on it again. Somebody wanted you to talk a bit more about the lien feature on Databank funds and how it works.
So essentially, it's just a tick of a button internally where we will block the account such that if you come in and fill a withdrawal form or you make a withdrawal request on any of our digital channels and it's going through the process, at a point, it will pop up to say the account has been blocked. So the withdrawal will not happen. That's how the feature works. And we use it in many different ways. Some people use their investments as collateral. So while it is a collateral, we block it until you've gone and finished paying your loan and all. So it's not a complicated matter. We just block it such that when you attempt a withdrawal, it will not go through.
Okay. Then a few people asked whether we're sharing the recording after. Yes, by Monday, we will send out an email just thanking you for attending, and then we'll also attach the recording as well. Kojo, somebody is asking if they can take their SNIT contribution and invest it with Databank.
No, actually no, because with Act 766, there's nothing like lump sum from SNIT anymore. When you retire from SNIT, you've been given your periodic income, as I showed you there. So your 4,500 becomes your 1,900. That's what you'll be earning every month. You will not be able to take out any money. It is the reason why some people call Tier 2 the lump sum, because with Tier 2, you do actually have the option to go and pull out all your money and do whatever you want to do with it. It's not an option I advise at all. I still advise that you keep it invested and you take out the money periodically. So you get 1,900 from SNIT, then say maybe you get another 1,900 from Tier 2, then you get another 1,900 from Tier 3, and put it all together as your regular income. There's always a temptation to go and pull out the money. We always believe that we can make more money than the fund managers are making for us if we do one business or the other. But I don't advise that we do that. Look, you would have worked 30, 40 years in public service or in a formal sector, not learning any other trade than the trade in which you were working in. Then suddenly you think that at age 60, you are an expert in some other trade. I don't think so. We need to really be very careful before we pull out the monies that we have invested.
Okay, so there are a couple questions that I'm just going to push together, then I'll go back to the hands as we wrap up. So one person is asking, what happens to an account that has been left dormant for a long while? Another person is asking, is there any package that does not require a continuous deposit, but rather you can do a one-time deposit?
Pause, because I forget. So the first one was?
Okay, the first one was, one second. An account being left dormant for a long time.
Okay.
So wait, before you answer that one, there was one more very similar to that I just wanted you to answer at the same time. And this is where he was saying that he had an account a long time ago. He doesn't even really remember the account number, but he wanted to know whether he could reactivate it and use it as his retirement account. So you can answer those two questions combined, dormancy and bringing back an account and using it, reactivating it, and then using it as his retirement account. That's Ernest.
So the beauty about the Databank investment account is that it never goes dormant. We don't have dormancy like happens in the commercial banks, where if you haven't transacted for some of them 12 months, others 18 months, automatically the system sends it to dormancy and then they have to go and report to Bank of Ghana, etc., etc. We don't have that. At Databank, once you've had an account with us, the account is live. It's quiet.
Sorry, one moment. Sorry, Isaac, please mute yourself. Just mute yourself while Kojo finishes talking, please.
Yeah, so those of you who think your accounts are dormant, they are not. If you've even forgotten your account number, just visit us, give us a call, 0302-610-610. You may be asked some security questions. Otherwise, you may need to physically go in so that your identity can be properly established. But if you can remember your security questions, no problem. They will give you what your balance is. We know people who left 5 CDs in their accounts when they thought they had closed it down. And that 5 CDs, I tell you what, will start picking up again, albeit slowly. So at Databank, accounts do not go dormant. We say it hasn't been transacted on for a long time. And then the person asking if they don't have a periodic way of investing, yes, I will repeat that with the Databank mutual funds, there's 110% flexibility. You can do whatever you want. It's all up to you. There are no restrictions in how you invest and how you withdraw. So if you have only 500 CDs one day, you deposit it, fine. If you don't have anything, that 500 will behave how the fund is behaving till you have another X amount, 10,000, then you come and put it in. If you are there and you are hot and you want to withdraw 1,000, you just come in and you draw your 1,000. There are no restrictions around them, unless you yourself place the restriction on yourself, then that's a different matter.
Okay, thank you. So Isaac is asking, one second, he wants to know how he can pay into his daughter's interest for account while he is outside of the country. So that's one. And then, one second. Then there was a question, we missed a question about the person who wanted to quit his job, go back to school, and then come back to contribute based on a higher salary. Thank you, Kenneth.
So let me answer the quit school thing. And again, maybe this is my personal view, but in private sector, and I'll restrict myself to private sector because some public service organizations have a different way of doing things. You do not get promoted or a higher job necessarily because you've gone and added another letter to your name in the name of a degree. That's not how it works. It's about the value you bring to the table, your productivity levels, and if there's an opportunity for an upgrade, you will get it. In the private sector, you can resign, go to school, and there's no guarantee that when you are coming back, you will get the same job or a higher job that you have. So please, those of you who do that, go to school thinking that they've had another extra degree to their name, so they have the right to be given a promotion or to be given a higher salary or whatever. Please disabuse your mind of that completely. Now, I know that there are some public sector organizations where if you've worked 5 years and you have a first degree, there's a certain level you are put, irrespective of your productivity level. Then if you have a second degree with a certain number of years, they put you, there are some public sector, I don't know if it is still done, but even then, if you are leaving and you are not going to be earning any income, note that SNIT has a minimum number of years you must contribute before you qualify for their pension. So if you go out and the number of years you spend out, you are not contributing, note that then your chances, you are reducing the number of years you can be adding to your pension right, because the pension right is it has a number of years contributed as a factor. Yeah, the person who wants to invest in trust for their child, yes, you can still invest. I think I answered a similar question. Right now, what we have is for you to use your Visa or MasterCard to make that investment. It will come with charges. That is not Databank's charges, but Visa and MasterCard's charges. And we are actually working on World Remit and SendWave as an option for the Momo, because I know that my brothers send me money using World Remit and it hits my Momo directly. So we know it will work, but we just have a few things to clear and then we'll bring it up.
All right. Thank you, Kojo. So Eugene, if you can unmute yourself, we're virtually out of time. So what I would say, Eugene, before you ask your question is, if we have not answered your question yet, we have all the questions that have been put into the chat saved. So we will respond to them even after this program is finished. If you have your hand up and we can't call on you, then just drop your question in the chat and we will send you your answer as well. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. So Eugene, if you can unmute yourself and ask your question. If not, then I will ask Edwina. Okay, so Eugene, ask your question, then Edwina, I'll ask you to ask yours.
Yeah, my question is...
Eugene, please go ahead.
I have an account so how will I know?
We can hardly hear you.
I have an account.
Okay.
Account, but how can I, is it necessary for me to open an account that is specifically for retirement? Hello?
Kojo, did you hear the question?
Hello?
Yes, I do hear you.
No,
Eugene, he was asking whether, he says he has an EPAC account and he wants to know whether he needs to open a separate account. Eugene, is that correct?
Yeah, for the retirement.
For retirement.
Specifically for retirement, yeah.
Okay, so my answer is yes, and that is what I recommend. The type of fund you will open depends on the time horizon you have and your risk appetite. I said as a rule of thumb, the older you are, the less risk you take. The younger you are, the more risk you can't take. However, ask yourself, if you invested 100 CDs and you had a 5-year horizon, and in year 1 you are told that 100 CDs is now 95 CDs, and you panic and get upset and want to withdraw all your money, that means that your risk profile is low and you need a low risk product. If you are not too concerned, you are concerned but you are not withdrawing, then your risk profile is medium. But if you are not concerned at all and you are ready to wait and let it ride out the number of years, then your risk tolerance is high. So it all depends on your risk profile, but just talk to a professional. And yes, open a separate fund for your retirement. The type of fund you open depends on your risk appetite.
All right, thank you, Kojo. Edwina, can you please go ahead with your question?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, if you are unemployed, but you have a little savings money, are there any beneficial investments you can invest in at Databank or any other corporation?
Yes, Edwina, once you have money, whether you're employed or not, is not important at all. As long as you have money, you can come in and invest in any of the products that we have available. Yes, you can. You don't have to be employed. Once you have money, that's enough. We have students who are passionate investors because they get monies from maybe their parents or their guardians, and they still bring a bit to invest.
Okay. Thank you. John Tete, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question? You're still.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my question, I want Kojo to highlight on the point he made that cashing out instead of transfer your provident fund when you change employers. Assuming I have retirement accounts, which he has stated categorically that we shouldn't touch it, and I have this provident fund amount or cash that I moving to a different employer. I want to find out, can I use the provident fund to do any project that I want to do and let the retirement account stay intact, or that one too I need to let it be as I needed money to carry on with other projects? That's my question. I don't know if you've gotten the question.
Yeah, I got you, John. I like your pharmacy shop. I think it's a pharmacy shop, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
So you see, these things all depend on you, the individual. And like what I was trying to say was that let's even assume you have a retirement fund separate. You have the provident fund too there, and you say you have a certain project.
Yeah.
Maybe you have contributed your provident fund to a point where you have the ability to withdraw, no problem. Sure. Or you have contributed to your retirement fund to the extent that you are very close to your target, or you feel you can still hit your target even if you withdraw for a project. And usually projects, when Ghanaians say project, it means they are building a house.
Yeah.
What I am trying to say is that if you are going to withdraw, and that withdrawal is going to give you the house up to lintel or just roofing or without finishing, and you find out that now you end up retiring, you haven't finished the house, you've reduced the amount of money that you could have been getting for liquidity, and it's sitting in cement, then you have to be very careful. So as an advisor, I'll never say, don't do this, don't do that. It all depends on you. But I advise that we have seen people who have pulled out money they could have had in retirement time, put it in a so-called project, and the project is not done. They too are then the money they don't have. Because the older you are, the more liquidity you need. Yeah. I'm glad you are in a pharmacy type shop. You can see the drugs that old people come and buy and buy and buy. It's not in cement, it's hard cash that they need. So I always try and advise that you just have to be careful when you are pulling out, not to pull out such that you lose on both sides. You should be able to pull out such that you are finished. Then you have a comfortable home where you can go and retire, because housing is one of the biggest issues for retirees, especially in public service, where they stay in government bungalow. Suddenly, one fine day, bungalow is not there. You know, we've seen it. I've seen it in Kolebu, where nurses and doctors are being ejected. It is painful because they didn't plan for a retirement home. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kojo. Okay, so we are very much out of time. And what I would like to do is just recommend that everybody, if you haven't yet done it, please just drop your questions in the chat. We really wanted to keep this to 2 hours just to manage everybody's time. So please, please forgive us that we have not been able to get through to everybody's question. We will have another one of these in March again, and at that time there will be more opportunity to ask questions. Nonetheless, you can put your questions in the chat and we'll get back to you. Hearing feedback from someone. Okay. So just to pause here, Kojo, if you're okay, I think we'll start the questions now, or yes?
Yeah, I think it's enough. You have one more item on your agenda.
Yes, so we just do have a few very quick giveaways. We've also been answering some of the questions in the chat throughout the course of the meeting. So again, we will respond and make sure that everybody's question gets answered. Yes, and we will send out a copy of the recording so that you can play it again and listen to it at your own pace, or even share with friends or family. So very quickly, there were 4 questions that I had. Let's see how far we get. The first question is, why is it important to consider your risk tolerance and your time horizon before you choose which product to invest in? So I will just pick from the hands that are raised, and I'll pick Christopher Addae-Mensah. If he can answer it, he will get 50 CDs in a gift voucher. So Christopher, your hand is up. You can unmute yourself and try and answer.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Hope you are doing well too.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, please, the question again.
So the question is, why is your risk tolerance and your time horizon important to consider when choosing your investment?
Okay, thank you very much. The question you are asking, the risk horizon, the questions you are asking, this is the first time I'm actually hearing those terms. And then, and then also I joined the meeting late. I closed from school and then rushed to the house, and it was already 2:30 at about.
Okay, so Christopher,
I don't see,
okay, no problem. So what happens is we'll send out the recording, and then you should watch and find the answer, because it actually is really a very important question. So I will actually, Samuel, put the, one second. Okay, so someone named Samuel put the answer in the chat and said it will inform how much you invest and how long you are willing to keep your investment running until it's fully matured. That's kind of like half the answer. That is more on the time horizon. But the question is, why is both your risk tolerance and your time horizon important? So I'll pick from another hand that is, Catherine, it's more than it helps you to know which investment package to take. So I just want to give, let's see, Samuel, if you can unmute yourself and give us your answer. If not, then I'll go back to the chat and choose somebody. Samuel, do you have an answer? Samuel, we can see you. Okay, Samuel, I don't think he has the answer. So the response is, hold on, let me just go into the chat and check the messages. I'll go with Godfred, who says risk tolerance helps a customer manage himself with expectation of returns, and time horizon also informs you about the investment package to go for. The longer it is, the more risk you can take. The shorter the time horizon, the less risky investments you should go for. So Godfred, I think your answer is very comprehensive. Thank you very much. And so you just won 50 CDs in a gift voucher. So please just send us your phone number in the chat so that we can confirm that it's you. All right, and that's Godfred. I'm just writing down your name. Okay, so the next question is, and this one, please put it in the chat. Please mention 2 mistakes that Kojo spoke about in his presentation that Ghanaians make that could cost them their retirement. Okay, so I see Samuel, who says failing to set a retirement goal, number 1, and number 2, putting off investing towards retirement until later. So yes, so Samuel, well done. Send your full name and phone number in the chat to me as well, and then we'll give you 50 CDs. All right, so 2 more. This one is a bit difficult, but that's why it will be worth 100 CDs. And the question is, how is your monthly pension payment calculated? There are 3 things that are considered. So what are the 3 things that are included in calculating your monthly pension payment? Type it in the chat, please. So Solomon Sobeng, sorry, says average annual salary, pension right, and early retirement factor. Yes, that is correct. So Solomon, you just won 100 CDs for answering that question. So Solomon, put your phone number in the chat, please, and we will give you your prize. Okay, and then the last question is, and again, put your number in the chat. Put your answer in the chat. What are the 2 requirements for qualifying for a full pension from SNIT under the new Act? So what are the 2 requirements for qualifying for a full pension from SNIT under the new Act? Okay. Yes, so Marian Afori says the number of months and then the regular. So Marian, can you type how many months minimum to qualify for a full pension and then your age? So you got it right, but ooh, no, that's not 280. No, not so 240 is under the old Act. I'm talking about the new Act. Okay, I'm still looking for the correct answer. So what is the minimum number of months that you should contribute? Anthony, you're close, but no. Kingsley, you are correct. So 180 months. So Kingsley gets the answer. So Kingsley, put your phone number in the chat as well. And you just won 100 CDs. Okay, so that actually brings us to the end of our program. And I just want to thank everybody really, really for your time that you spent with us. We hope you have learned something. We hope you will take time to actually prepare for your retirement. It is critically important, and it's not something that we want anybody to play around with at all. So if you have any questions, you can send us an email at Databank. You can call us at 0302-610-610. We've got 19 locations so that you can step into any location and ask, or you can visit our website. But there is no excuse as of today to prepare for your retirement or to not prepare for your retirement. Really, you should do it. So thank you all once again for participating. We will send out the recording next week. And when you get your email with the recording, you'll see that there is a special promo that will be there just for those people who attended, where if you invest at least 100 CDs towards your retirement between now and Valentine's Day, then Databank will add 20 CDs to your investment. So you'll get all the details in your email. But stay tuned, and thank you all very, very much for participating. Kojo, thank you for your time. And Enoch, yes, I will make sure that we get your question answered. Thank you again, and we wish you all a wonderful day.